Hey, everybody. Sorry, I'm not going on camera tonight. How's everyone doing? And everybody okay after last night's storm stuff? Hey, Jennifer Henny. Oh, I love that name. Hey, no bed of roses. No, this isn't an April Fool's joke. Abra, Mel, Butterfly Kisses, Jen, Thumb Thug. Yeah, I didn't get it too bad, but we were just sitting here probably like 2 hours ago, and I had my windows open because it was like 70 today, and we all my stuff on my window just blew off. Hey, Queen Bella. And I was like, oh man. So I looked out and the sky was like dark gray and everything was blowing around. And then we got hail, like all these marble sized pieces of hail just pouring down for like a good 10 minutes. You got about 8 inches of snow. No way, Linda. Hey, Grandma Sherry. Oh my goodness. Well, I am so done with snow. We didn't get any snow actually this year, but I'm done with the winter. You know what I mean? I'd be mad if I got snow. You're having a thunderstorm right now and it's pouring. Yeah, it was really bad. Lots of damage around your area, but we're okay. Tornado warning sirens at 1 a.m. Yeah, I heard. I was looking at all of the tornadoes on Twitter. Man, they had a crazy looking one in Iowa. There was one in Little Rock, Indiana. They were everywhere last night. So hopefully everybody's okay. I live in southeast Iowa and I've never seen a tornado outbreak like that before. How many did you guys have, Nate? I saw that one. That was crazy. The one, it was like super big and scary looking. Oh, one hit in Maryland? Yeah, I know there was like a supercell over Jersey too. It's crazy. So, I figured I would talk about Brian Shaffer tonight because Mel told me that it was his 17-year anniversary of his disappearance, and both of his parents are no longer here. So I'm sure, his other family members, advocate for him. But I know his dad was a big advocate in trying to find him, and now he's no longer here. His mom, before he went missing, his mom passed from cancer, and and he was in med school, and then I don't know if it was shortly, but like a little while, I think maybe like a couple of years after he disappeared, his dad was in his yard. Hey, Devil. And got hit with a tree branch and died. Just so crazy. Thank you, Devil. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys get any bad weather down there? I know Tennessee had bad weather yesterday. At least 6 monster ones. Wow. That's crazy, Nate. Yeah. I was looking at them on Twitter. There was like a really crazy looking one that was just like, it was scary. It was scary looking. It freaked me out watching it. All right. So let me pull up some pictures of him. I even got a picture of what he would look like now, because some people think that it's a possibility that he could have just left his life, you know what I mean? Because this man literally, I mean, when I say literally, vanished into thin air. That's him on the left, and that's his father, Randy. And then get my downloads real quick. I don't remember which one it is. All right, I'll just... Sorry, I have all these things open. Hold on. All right, he had a girlfriend named... Let me stop my screen real quick while I get my stuff in order. He had a girlfriend named Alexis Wagner. All right, let's just start from the beginning. All right, so the last time anyone saw Columbus, Ohio man, Brian Shaffer, I think he's 27, yeah, alive was a few minutes before 2 a.m. on Saturday, April 1st, 2006, outside the Ugly Tuna Saloon Bar, where he was talking to two women before seemingly re-entering the establishment through the front door. Per Columbus Monthly, the 27-year-old Ohio State University medical student spent the night of March 31st bar hopping with a friend named William Clint Florence, starting out at the Ugly Tuna and returning there at around 1:15 a.m. with Florence's friend Meredith Reed. So I think Meredith was Florence's girlfriend. Come closing time, Florence and Reed realized that Shaffer was missing, though no one thought much about it until April 3rd, when Shaffer missed a flight to Miami that he was supposed to take with his girlfriend, fellow medical student. I almost tried to say fellow medical is one word. Alexis Wagner. And I found an article that she was in where she talked about him. This is a pretty good here we go, blog about it. There's a blog called True Crime Times. I'll share the link, but she's got some good pictures on here and stuff. So here's him and his mother. So in 2006, he had just lost his mom in March to cancer. So literally like weeks before he vanished, his mom died from cancer. Grappling with the grief, the 27-year-old decided to enjoy a night out on the town with his former roommate, Clint Florence, on April 1st. But before he hit the bar with his friend, Brian went out to dinner with his father. I'm pretty sure he went out to dinner to Outback Steakhouse. Hey, Risk. With his dad, Randy, and his younger brother, Derek. So this is Clint Florence. Now, a lot of people think that Clint is like a little bit suspect because he refused to take a polygraph. I don't think that's really weird. I would probably refuse to take a polygraph as well if I was ever putting in a situation like this. Just because they're not admissible in court and they like, it's just a tactic. Yeah, never take a polygraph. I don't really find anything suspicious about the fact that he didn't take a polygraph. But I did see some other things, but I couldn't, oh, you think his brother? See, I didn't see anything about his brother, but you're going to have to fill me in with that. Because I didn't read anything about, like, his brother possibly being a suspect, but I don't know if this is true. I saw someone saying it in Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. It's probably not true, to be honest. But somebody said that Florence stopped talking to the police and refused to talk to them, which again is really not a bad idea. Like if you have a lawyer and they tell you to stop talking because you were there when somebody went missing, it's not shady. You know what I mean? If you gave them everything you have and you have nothing left to say and they keep trying to question you and you don't want to answer anymore, I don't think that's shady either. But I saw somebody say that he said he wasn't going to talk anymore unless they gave him immunity, which I thought that was kind of weird, but I couldn't find confirmation on that. So yeah, but it's Aber, they can lie to you. So police can lie to you and tell you that you failed this or that. They can say whatever they want to get you to say anything, and whatever you say can be used against you. So it's really not smart to, like, I mean, I guess everybody's different, but it's not, I don't think it's weird if people don't want to take them. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, you didn't miss a lot at all. We just started, actually. But I don't know. I just don't think it's weird if somebody doesn't want to talk. Because anything that you can say, they can turn you into a suspect if they want to, and you got to protect yourself. That's all. What if you purchase one, like Letitia, a fake polygraph, and then turn your answers over to the police? A fake one or a real one is the question. All right, so they opted to spend. All right, so this was like the beginning of spring break for them. They're in med school. Brian was supposed to go to, I think him and his girlfriend were going on a vacation the next day to Miami, I think it was. And there was talks that he was going to propose to her there. Oh, really? There was accusations that Brian was gay, but no confirmation. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I didn't hear that, but I mean, you never know. I mean, that could have been a reason for something like a fight, or, there's a serial killer going after gay men. Really? Right now? Oh, wow. Other people think that it could have been the smiley face killers, which I've gone down. Oh, his mom paid for the vacation. Oh, that's sad. So, like the smiley face killers, I've been down that rabbit hole so many times, just because there is two guys who, they kind of, all right, so one, if you've ever watched the smiley face killer episodes on Oxygen or whatever, one of the victims that they talk about is Tommy Booth, which he is a local to my area. And there was another kid who was a year or two younger than me that we had a lot of mutual friends from my area that people thought maybe related to the smiley face stuff, because he was out in Manayunk bar hopping and got really drunk, and they kicked him out, and he ended up in the river. His name was Shane Montgomery. So I have people still talk. Oh, it's only an hour from you. Well, I'm sure they do. It is a really strange case because he just disappeared. All right, so they opted to spend the evening at South Campus Gateway's Ugly Tuna Saloon, a bar located in the Arena District of Columbus, Ohio, arriving around 9 p.m. It was the beginning of spring break. Just before 10 p.m., Brian briefly spoke with his girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, a second-year medical student at Ohio State, who was visiting with her parents in Toledo. At the end of the call, Brian told Alexis he loved her, and it was the last time she ever heard his voice. It's him and Alexis. I might be able to make it a little bigger. I just really like this girl's blog because she had a lot of pictures, and I like visuals, you know what I mean? So they decided to do a bit of bar hopping. They traveled to the short north, where they met up with Clint's friend Meredith Reed. After doing several shots, Meredith offered to take Brian and Clint back to the Ugly Tuna, and they accepted the ride. At 1:15 a.m., surveillance cameras caught the trio entering the building and riding the escalator to the second-floor bar just before 2. The cameras recorded Brian speaking with 2 college-age women. He appears to say goodbye and walks away. So that's him on the escalator talking to the 2 women. And then after that, he was never seen again. And here's like the bizarre part is that there was cameras. So like out front of the bar, there was like a camera that just like panned back and forth over and over and over again. And while they seen him come in, the cops never seen him leave. Like he just never, I mean, they would have seen him come out the front door unless he had like a different outfit on or a hat that he like held over his eyes. There was a back entrance to this bar there was construction going on. And it sounded like to me that they're saying there was like literally like a hole out the back that they were going to put concrete in. But they said like if he had walked out the back door and fell in this hole, like there's no way the concrete pourers wouldn't have noticed a body just, hanging out in this hole. So Clint and Meredith assumed that Brian had gone back to his apartment, which I believe his apartment was actually super close. Oh, you couldn't get out the back? I know they mentioned like there was some like weird, like it was like blocked off, but it was extremely difficult to get to. I wonder if I can like look and see. But I'm pretty sure his apartment was like super close to this place. And they thought he went back to his apartment. They didn't think much of it. When they attempted to reach him on his cell phone all night and throughout the weekend, he never answered. When Monday morning arrived, Brian's family was alarmed to discover he had missed a long scheduled flight to Florida and called the Columbus police to report him missing. He could get out the back. I thought he could walk out there, but it would be like unlikely because it was like there was like construction going on. He was scheduled to vacation in Miami. This says with Meredith, but it wasn't with Meredith. It was with Alexis Wagoner, whom he was reportedly planning to marry. His vehicle was found in the parking lot of his apartment building, which was near the Ugly Tuna Saloon. So, could he have just like decided he was going to walk back to his apartment and something happened maybe on the way to his apartment? Because if it was that close, like if his apartment building was so close to there, I mean, it wouldn't be unlikely that he would walk back home. Is that bar still there? Does anyone know? Let's see. That's it? No way. That's the place? Don't look like that. Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, there's no way that don't look like that. It was tore down. Okay. Shoot, where was I? A citywide search was launched, with police going as far to check dumpsters and the sewer system. The Ugly Tuna Saloon was located in a high crime area, so possibility of foul play was a real possibility. Okay. All right, Jim. Shortly after Brian's disappearance, his empty apartment was broken into. Now, do they know who broke into it, Melanie? You know that? I didn't see that part. Family and friends hoped the crime would offer clues about what happened to the medical student, but the break-in turned out to be unrelated. Okay. Randy Shaffer, still reeling from the loss of his wife and absolutely desperate to find his son, consulted a psychic who told him that Brian's body was resting in water near a bridge for hours. Oh, this is sad. Randy waded in the Olentangy River in Columbus with a search party, but there was no trace of Brian. Oh, I love that name. I love Wednesday. That show is really good, actually. Alexis, too, was unwilling to give up on finding Brian. She dialed herself. This I thought was weird, but I guess there is, like, it could be just like a glitch. She dialed her boyfriend's cell phone number every night, but it always went to voicemail. One night in September, Alexis held her breath as Brian's phone rang 3 times before going to voicemail. She called again, but there was no answer. However, a ping from Brian's phone was traced to a cell phone tower in the town of Hillard, some 14 miles from Columbus. The ping was an exciting development, but that excitement didn't last long. Brian's cellular carrier said that the ringing and the tower ping could have been a glitch in the system rather than a sign that Brian had turned his phone on. Everyone in Brian's life, including those he was at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, willingly submitted to a polygraph test, except for Clint Florence. Clint's attorney has stated that his client has nothing to hide, but he had given the police all the information that he had. Remember that Derek was the one who broke in? Is Derek the brother? Okay, yeah. All right. According to Brian's brother, Derek, Clint spoke negatively of Brian after he went missing, which raised suspicions that Clint was somehow involved in Brian's disappearance. However, there have never been a shred of evidence linking Clint to Brian's vanishing. So, did that came from Derek, or was Clint actually talking bad about him, or did Derek just say Clint was talking bad about him? Well, no bed of roses. He might be. I mean, there was all that, but it's probably rumor. Oh, not to change the subject real quick, but did y'all see that there's 2 new suspects in, well, not new, but they named the suspects in Stephen Smith's case, but we'll talk about that at the end. So it straight came from Derek. So what's weird about Derek, like, besides the break-in? Search for Brian went on. The 2 women who was seen speaking with Brian outside the bar were cleared of any involvement. The search for Brian went on for years and was aided by the likes of Eddie Vedder, the lead singer of Brian's favorite band, Pearl Jam. He even had a Pearl Jam tattoo. He even had a Pearl Jam tattoo on his arm, I believe, like the little stick figure on the cover of the album. He had that tattooed on his arm. Pearl Jam, who took breaks between songs during a concert in Cincinnati to appeal to the audience for information concerning Brian's appearance. Real quick, funny story. My dad worked with this guy. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, me and Eddie Vedder were buddies, you know, like he's my boy. I go to his concert every time he comes to Philly and blah blah blah." And so I think it was my dad's friend who was making fun of the other guy, saying like, "Oh yeah, you know, you don't know Eddie Vedder, you're full of crap, blah blah blah." And he was like, "No, really, like Eddie Vedder's my friend." So the guy didn't believe him. So the guy who's actually friends with Eddie Vedder called up Eddie Vedder and asked Eddie to take a picture with him to show to the guy who didn't believe him. So basically, next time he saw Eddie, they held up a piece of paper that said F you and the guy's name who didn't believe him. And him and Eddie are both holding the middle finger. And when he came into work the next day, he gave the picture to the guy and was like, "See?" I thought that was so cool. Like, Eddie Vedder just sounds like the coolest dude ever. But I love that story. All attempts at finding Brian were met with deafening silence, but in 2008 there was renewed hope that the would-be doctor was still alive. Sadly, Brian's father died that year, never having the opportunity to reunite with or bury his son. But in an online, oh, this is so strange. In an online condolence book, someone wrote, "To Dad, love Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands." But I mean, that could be anybody though. Like, you know how people are. We've seen it. We've seen so many fakes, let alone in like the YouTube community of like people faking knowing somebody, or like that guy Justin who just like won't let up, who from the Idaho case, who says he knows Dylan and that she's transgender and that she's gonna do an interview with him, and here he like made the whole thing up. Yeah, that guy. Like, there's always somebody who has to like, put their 2 cents in. And yeah, it could be anybody writing it, but that would be pretty crazy if most people think it's fake. It was done from a library. Yeah, I've seen that it was traced back to, yeah. However, the police quickly learned that the message was a cruel hoax posted from a publicly accessible computer in Franklin County, Ohio. So here are some theories. One theory is that Brian was chatting with the band while they were packing up and the bar was closing, and the staff may have locked the bar without realizing that Brian was still there. And Brian left with the band and staff, after which point he met with foul play. But wouldn't they see that on the cameras too? Or do the cameras like turn off? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I know Thumb Thug, right? Okay, alright. So they ain't telling you nothing, huh? This doesn't explain why Brian wasn't spotted leaving in the bar surveillance cameras or on surrounding businesses with cameras. The smiley face killers. I don't know how many if anyone actually believes the whole smiley face killer thing, but if you don't know what the smiley face killers are, there is a ridiculous amount of college age boys who go to a bar and get ridiculously drunk, get kicked out of the bar, or leave, and somehow end up in the river. Like, it's happened with so many cases. It's like unbelievable. I mean, I went down this rabbit hole once just because I was really curious to see like just how many cases really end in that outcome. And I found this website where people just find these cases and add them to the website, like similar in nature. And when I tell you there's thousands, like there is just thousands of young men who die this way, and it's really freaking bizarre. But in a nutshell, these investigators came up with this theory that there was this like dark web network of killers who seemingly work together, or maybe like a few that work on their own and they travel. I don't know. But the basically some unknown person drugging these males in the bar, and they get really drunk, and then they kill them somehow and throw them in the river. One of like probably one of the most there's been a couple notable cases. One is Tommy Booth. He was at a bar. Hold on, let me just pull it up real quick. But this is local to me, so it's kind of like why I ended up going down this avenue. But just so you get an idea of like what happened, so you kind of like they're all pretty similar, the cases. Tommy Booth was discovered face down in Woodland, Pennsylvania Creek 2 weeks after he went missing. The medical examiner noticed a suspicious set of footprints and marks at the death site. Above Booth's head and torso, there was a drag mark in the soil with possible foot and shoe impressions. So it almost looked like he was drugged there. On either side of it, according to the autopsy report by the Delaware County Medical Examiner's Office, the mark was directed upstream from the current, making it plausible that Booth's body had been dragged by its feet through the creek by an unknown assailant. Still, based on available evidence, the medical examiner ruled his death a probable drowning. Booth's case has been closed since 2008, but a new team of investigators working to have his death reclassified as a homicide. Those guys are Kevin Gannon, Michael Donovan, Anthony Duarte, and a professor of criminal justice, Dr. Lee Gilbertson. They believe Booth could be a potential victim of the Smiley Face Killers, an alleged gang of unknown serial killers that murdered college-age men and dumped their bodies in local waterways and paint smiley face symbols near their death sites. Most of these kids that they have found is that they will find a spray painted smiley face nearby. There's been a bunch of victims that have this, but the only issue is that in these waterways and stuff, they're commonplace for graffiti. And a smiley face is a common graffiti symbol. So is it coincidental or is it some network of serial killers? I don't know, but they kind of believe that maybe they have formed on like the dark web and, kind of like just, and it's all college age kids. It's really strange. It doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen too much to like older men. And I don't know if it's because, college age kids are more likely to go out to a bar and get super drunk and, end up going to take a piss by a river and fall in or something. I don't know, but it's only college age students, which is, I'm sure there's some cases with, older males, but there's like an alarming amount of college age students who die this way. But there's also something else with his death that they believe that he was taken there like later. So here, wait. Roeder noted that in addition to the supposed drag marks, Booth's feet were in a position that suggested he was pulled through the sand and mud by his legs. Willoughby contended the drag mark could have been formed by the water flowing around his body, creating some type of sandbar. Even considering that possibility, Roeder believes there's an additional forensic evidence that suggests Booth was not a drowning victim. If you're in the water for 14 and a half days, you are in fact a drowning victim. I think the body would be have a much different appearance. You would see excessive bloating, skin slippage, which we don't see here with Tommy. There was also fixed lividity on the posterior of Booth's body, which suggests that when he died, he was lying on his back for a substantial period of time. So, like, there was purple marks on his back, which is from the blood settling that way. Oh, yeah, there's a lot in your area. There's a lot in, like, by the Great Lakes, and between like the Great Lakes and like New York and Pennsylvania and Jersey, it's like all within there is most of the stuff that's happened. But he had fixed lividity on his back, which is like from the blood settling. So if like you die, your blood isn't like flowing anymore. It's all going to go to one place. So it goes towards your back. So what happens is it creates this like purple mark. Well, he was on his stomach when he was found face down, but there was fixed lividity on his back. So they believed he was lying on his back for a substantial period of time. And there's no way to be on your back on a hard surface if you're floating in the creek. So they think it's possible that maybe he was like, I guess, kidnapped for a while and taken somewhere and then killed and then dumped here. Law enforcement maintained that the creek had frozen over in the days Booth was missing, potentially causing the lividity to last longer than normal. Herder says this is impossible. The tissue in a frozen body is in the fatty tissues and so forth, where the lividity is in the muscles and the joints. So there's a lot of there's so many. I mean, if you go down this path and look into the smiley face killers, it is just it's pretty interesting. I don't I do think it is bizarre how many college age students die in this particular way, but and not to mention they're all good looking, really good looking, young, healthy, athletic looking college age students. They all kind of look similar. So it's really bizarre because it's what are the odds that there's some gang that's going around doing this? But what are the odds that so many college age men are dying this way? Hold on, I'm gonna look at Mel's thing real quick. But I mean, that would be a pretty cool road we can go down if you guys are into that. I could look up a bunch of cases and we can, go down the smiley face killer route. So they sent you a basic report? Okay, let me see. Oh, so they denied? Notice of denial in part of redaction. Request from a person who is incarcerated pursuant to a criminal. Oh, these are all reasons why they can't give it to you, I guess. In a pending criminal proceeding, defendants may only obtain discovery. So is it considered a criminal investigation, or is it just, I guess, missing persons? Because this is still an active investigation, there are no other records I can provide at this time. Oh, wow. So they are really tight-lipped about it for sure. So these are the guys that have come up with this smiley face killer thing. The men claim that there's been an epidemic of college-educated young white men. Oh, and they're all white men too, yeah. Of college-educated young white men who have vanished after a night out with friends and were later found dead in local rivers and other bodies of water. This coordinated group of killers is known as the smiley face killers because the bodies of their supposed victims are found near smiley face graffiti. You can read more about the smiley face killers here. It is currently impossible to tie Brian Shaffer's disappearance to the ring, as no trace of him has ever been found. While Brian matches the type of individual the smiley face killers allegedly target, it is just as likely that Brian fell victim to a robbery gone wrong or some other random crime. Do you know if he didn't have his car with him that night, Mel, right? Because they got a ride from Meredith. I mean, I definitely think there could be a smiley face thing, but I also think it could just be a coincidence. But I definitely think it's an interesting theory. Until they find new information, just a way of not sharing public info. Okay, thanks, Kelly. All right, so I guess here's the other one. Brian went out the emergency exit, fell in a hole in the construction site, and was covered with cement. Yeah, but wouldn't... Yeah, he left it. I remember them saying he left it in his, it was in the parking lot of his apartment, which was close by. I would imagine he didn't, because Meredith gave them a ride back to the tuna. So, I mean, do you know if they did that ground penetrating sonar stuff where that that construction site was? Besides where he is, right? Exactly. She knows everything besides where he is. Well, that's good to know. I feel like they would, I mean, unless they didn't even look in the hole and they just like pulled up the concrete machine and just like filled it, you know what I mean? Which I guess could have happened, but I feel like it's unlikely that they wouldn't have noticed um a body in the hole. Like, was the hole like right outside the door? Like, because all I can imagine right now is like, in those, it sounds terrible, but like in those cartoon shows where somebody takes like a step off something and there's a hole and they just fall. It wasn't as bad as they reported. Okay, because like all I can imagine is like him walking out this door and then just like falling in this giant hole. It's like that's how they're making it sound. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's one of those Looney Tune things. Like that's what I imagine in my head. Like they just walk out a door and fall in a hole. The hole was the start of an elevator shaft. Easy to see. Okay. So yeah, like well that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't see that. I mean, I think maybe he left the bar that night to head home. Like this is the only plausible theory that I can come up with is that he left the bar that night somehow. I don't know how they didn't see him, but how he had to have left some way. And um started to walk home and something happened on the way home. Do we know how like drunk he was? Like was he like super inebriated or like was he just I don't know. But it sounds to me like maybe he could have been walking home and got robbed or something happened back at his apartment. Wasn't a very windy situation. Well, so the thing is, Linda, the their theory is that it's a group of the smiley face killer theory that there's a group of men like I guess males or females, I don't know, that talk on the dark web from all over and like there's it's like a gang and they kill people based on like where they live. So like there's a gang of them from all over, so they wouldn't necessarily travel. It's like a dark web gang. The dogs tracked either urine or vomit from Brian. Interesting. So maybe he just got he like went somewhere because he was sick and like was too drunk. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it could be another one of those situations where I don't know if guys just happen to like head toward waterways or whatever, but it's so strange to me that these got like college guys just end up in rivers like to go take a pee, maybe like go in the woods to go take a pee in the water and then the only other exit apart from the designated exit was an emergency door that led to a construction site. Those involved in the case and those familiar with the building say it would have been incredibly difficult for Brian to get out of the building that way, but not impossible. It was a dark, chaotic area. Was there no camera by that door? Because, I mean, if it wasn't as bad as they said, I could see him just popping out that door and going. If he fell in a hole and was covered with cement, it would have been an accident. Construction workers would have seen him pass out So that's unlikely. Brian is still inside the ugly tuna. I highly doubt that, but the way this theory goes, Brian accidentally died while inside the bar. Fear of lawsuits, and staff snuck his body out of the emergency exit and disposed of his body. I mean, that could be a possibility where he got like too drunk and like died at the bar and they panicked, but I feel like it looked like a big bar. I mean, how many people at this bar would know about it and be all in and be all down to go with that story? There were far more exits than reported. There were lots of cameras, but several were malfunctioning. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so basically I figured I'll go over it tonight briefly so you guys have an idea of it. And then next week, Kelly, who follows this case very, very closely and knows everything about it, she can come up and, give me all the minute details that I don't know about it. There was speculation that he jumped from the second floor since he was so tall. Don't you take an escalator up to the second floor? That sounds ridiculous. He would urinate behind a tree, not at a river. I mean, I don't know. How do the guys end up in rivers? Like, that's my question, though. Like, it even happened where I live. There was this young kid, Shane Montgomery, his name was, and he was at a bar. All right, so where these bars are, it's a busy street with a bunch of bars on it. And then if you walk like 20 feet, there's a canal. And then if you walk past the canal, like another 20 feet, depending on which area you're in, there's a river. And he ended up he left the bar, he got kicked out, he was super drunk. It was the night before Thanksgiving, and they found him in the river. And like, why would he even walk down to the river is my question. But apparently it seems like that happens so often. I'll never understand it. It's like, how do drunk men end up going to rivers so much? Like, I mean, I guess in these places maybe they're all like around water, because they do make like, big bar areas. Like, I know in Philadelphia, down by the Delaware, there's a whole strip of bars. So I don't know, but it is really just crazy to think how many guys accidentally drowned in rivers. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Do you know if there was a river nearby there, like along that way? Like, does anyone have the old address? Because I know you said they tore it down. I'd like to look at the area, to be honest. I know it said, I'll go back and see up top. Yes, that's what I mean, Terry. I guess that's the only thing I can think of, too, is they go there to urinate because they're, like, it's not in, like, sight of people, and, like, that's the only thing. Yeah, they intrigue me too, because it's so common, and it's so common with just like college age men, especially. It's like they always end. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jen. It's like there's so, I mean, if you looked up, I'm telling you, I was on this website. I couldn't believe I went through every major city in the US and looked up, like, man leaves bar and ends up in a river. And when I tell you, there's thousands of cases. Like, I'm not even kidding. Thousands. And it's always young college aged men. They get kicked out of a bar, or they leave a bar and end up in a river somehow. It's so weird. So here's another one, is that Brian left to start a new life. I mean, people have such a hard time like believing that people could do this stuff, but I don't at all. Like it's happened so many times where, somebody's just up and left and they found them years later. Like what's his name? Carol Baskin's husband. They just found him. I mean, it happens. His mom had just passed 3 weeks before he disappeared. He was grieving, and they said he appeared to be handling the loss in a healthy way. That's his mother and his brother. The only reason anyone can think of why he would have left to start a new life is music. He was a medical student, but becoming a doctor was a backup career for the career he really wanted to be, a musician. Oh, thank you, Abra. 1546 North High Street, Columbus. It's not that far. But yeah, this looks more like the place. Well, that's even crazier. Look, there's no water around here. Like, not close. That makes it even more weird. It's like, I could see it being more like plausible if there was water, but like, there's not water close. I mean, there's it's over here, but like, how many blocks is that? I mean, nobody would walk this far to just go piss in the river, I don't think. One, two, three. It's like 12 blocks and a giant parking lot. Hey, Glenjamin. I mean, I don't know how much of... Is this the college that he went to, I guess? I don't know how much is actually the same. But this is really like... Like, there's no way. I wonder where it is. Sorry, I just like to look at everything. Yeah. It's Tinkle. Some dog always says Tinkle. I say P. I don't know. And yeah, right. I would piss my pants before I got there too, for sure. Like, no way. I could see if it was close, like where the kid Shane Montgomery. It was pretty close. It was like 2 blocks, from the bar, if he had walked to the river. So even so, they believe it doesn't make sense. He had a close relationship with his girlfriend and reportedly planned on marrying her. He was doing well in school and had a bright future ahead of him, whether he became a musician or a doctor. I can't see someone just like giving up their whole life to be a musician, but if he successfully escaped the bar undetected, well, obviously he did somehow. He would have had to change clothes before he left the Ugly Tuna for a final time. But Brian was with people all night. Well, wait, if he was throwing up because they tracked vomit, maybe he had thrown up on himself or something and someone gave him a different shirt, or like, did they have like a little like merch store or anything in there, I wonder? One of the investigators who looked into this possibility, Andre Edwards, said he could say with 100% certainty that Brian did not leave via the escalator. So I guess these are like some of these are shots of what he would like look like older. Yeah, I agree. Like reading this, I agree that it's fairly like I think he had to have left the bar. Maybe there was a different exit that didn't have cameras working or something. Maybe he fell into the hole and they didn't notice. But what I do know is that Brian's brother, Derek, had a very difficult 2 years between 06 and 08. First, his mother died from cancer. 3 weeks later, his brother went missing. Then in 2008, he lost his father when a branch fell and hit him in the head while he was cleaning up after a storm. So why do you think Derek's weird, Mel? I'm curious. There was an article I seen that his girl wrote. I'm trying to find it though. Nope. 2 years after her boyfriend disappeared from a campus area bar, Alexis Wagner said she has learned to split focus between the agonizing search for answers and her dream of graduating medical school. Oh, so she was in medical school. The Scioto River and Alantangi are closest bodies of water. Both are dredged multiple times. The river was even rerouted through the city. If Brian was in the water, yeah, I agree. I don't think he was in the water. It's too far. I just don't think he would have been there. Heard one theory he was taken out in the trash. I mean, maybe if they had like those wheelie trash cans where you could like, which some do. I mean, that would be an interesting theory. Like, what if in the bar something went down and they didn't want to get in trouble, so they put him in like one of those wheelie trash cans and put him outside, or I don't know. It is really bizarre though, because he pretty much just vanished in a thin air. Like, it's one of those cases where it's like you don't even know if he left the bar. He just disappeared. Shaffer was last seen. Grainy surveillance images show the last glimpse of Shaffer going up a set of escalators toward the bar. Authorities have developed no leads in his disappearance. She said the last 2 years have been tough for her, but counseling and a strong family enabled her to get through the darkest days. While police and family members continue to search for answers in Shaffer's disappearance, Wagner said she was balancing her memories of Brian and her life ahead. Obviously, you have the goal of trying to find someone, but you've got to also have the goal of what your life is going to be. I guess you just try as much as you can to look at both of them and independently and go for both of them. So Kelly, what's your theory? Do you think that he ever like left the bar, or that he left in a different at a different exit? Let me see if they have the video on here. Oh, why did they? She must have graduated med school, because I looked her up to get a picture, and it said she was a doctor. Oh, the guy, don't trust the guy who said he's 100% certain he never left. Oh, I don't. Yeah, I saw. Hold on, I sent myself they're super hard to see. Like, I think he could have easily walked out there without somebody seeing him. Hold on. You can see it's really hard to tell. I mean, oh shoot. Like, how do you know who that is? You know what I mean? They did have security guards there, though, but I mean, how would you know? But, like, I can't, look, me looking at this footage right here, I cannot make out anybody's face. Like, how would you know? I don't know if this is the one where he came up, but, like, just to show, like, you can't really make out anything that's on there. Hold on. Oh, I didn't even think about that theory. I mean, I could definitely see him, like, walking away, but yeah, that unaliving himself could be. I mean, that's pretty, it's hard. I'm sure it's very hard to see, someone you love go through, battling cancer and dealing with all hardship. That wouldn't surprise me. Like, I think that's probably one of the best theories out there for sure. Oh, I can send. I don't want to, like, I don't know if, hold on, let me turn the sound off. I got the clip from the, like, real life nightmare of him on the escalator and just want to show it without sound. All right, here you go. That's him talking. This is the one you were telling me, Kelly, I think, right? Look how grainy that is. Like, how do you even know? That's his girlfriend. There he is going into the bar. I mean, that one was somewhat clear, but in... Okay. But yeah, it's super grainy. I think that it's definitely possible that he could have gotten out of that bar without the police even knowing at all. But I'm gonna end it. Next week, hopefully Kelly can come on and she can dive into this way deeper than I did now with me, and we can talk about it a little more. And then maybe one day we can look at the little smiley face killer theory. I've never thought about covering that, but I mean, I think people would find it super interesting to see how many people actually, like, how many people in that age range, and even if it isn't the smiley face killer theory, just the statistics of it are just, like, super crazy. So that would be an interesting road to go down. But yeah, we'll revisit this next week, and I'll probably be back most of the weekend because my son is on spring break, so I really have nothing else to do. So I think Brian left the bar, and if he decided to leave, it wasn't on Friday night, it was Saturday. Oh, so your first option is that he left and he's still out there. I can see that. I mean, maybe it was like one of those things where he didn't want to be a doctor and he just wanted, he felt a lot of pressure. And maybe after seeing his mom pass, I feel like seeing someone young pass and having to like live that kind of like opens like a thing in yourself to be like, do what makes you happy type deal, like I only have this much time, and like my time is limited on this earth, and this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I want to do this, and after seeing his mom pass at a young age, that it totally could have like clicked in his brain to leave and do something else with his life, which I mean could totally. Oh wait, you know what, before I go, I saved a picture of him and what he would look like. I'm pretty sure I saved it today. Hold on. I think I could just Google it. Pretty sure is age progression image of what he would look like today. That's what he would look like. Well, this is like one of them age progression things, which and you're welcome, guys. Thanks for coming. And I'll make sure I post about it like earlier in the week when to remind y'all, and I'll work out a day with Kelly and we'll come back and talk about it. Maybe oh yeah, real quick too, before I go, I wanted to mention Stephen Smith. They released 2 suspect names, which I've never heard the names before, which I thought was pretty crazy. So maybe tomorrow, we'll just like talk about that a little bit. I want to see if I can find out any information on these names because I've never even heard them. Patty Atkins. Oh, I'll check that one out too for sure. You're welcome, Kelly. Thank you guys for helping me out with some information, and I will see y'all later this weekend. Bye, everyone. Thank you.